Everyone's good?
Very good.
You said you'd ask me questions.
Big project for Queensland. Tell us about this one.
This is an incredibly exciting project. $2.5 billion invested right here in the Moreton region, leveraging off our leadership in renewables, in grid transmission infrastructure, and in data cabling. We invested in the first submarine cable from Queensland to the rest of the world. It lands at Maroochydore and runs down through Petrie, through this site here at Brendale and into the city. The node here at Brendale connects with where all of the transmission lines for the electricity grid come together, and that means that this site has incredible electricity stability, it has incredible data speeds, it's the perfect location for a big battery which can support the grid. It has very stable electricity supply, and that means that it's a great spot for a data center. This will allow companies to host their data. When we think about the cloud, this is where the cloud will be. It will allow us to have our own data hosted here in Queensland, making it safe and secure and taken care of by Queensland locals. So it really underlines how investment in infrastructure, in renewables and in data can create jobs here in Queensland.
What type of, I think there's top companies that might be coming here. What type of companies will you be trying to?
I'll let Quinbrook talk to that, but I expect that we will see the big players in hosted data see the advantages of being here in Brendale, the speed advantages out to the rest of the world via Maroochydore, the electricity advantages, the chance to say that their data is hosted in a 100% renewable energy powered data facility co-located with a battery. I expect that you'll see all the big brands decide they want to be here. That's right. So the battery itself will provide grid stability. So during the day when we're generating more electricity than we need, the batteries will draw that down. That will then be available for the data center, but also for the grid during peak times. These are the kind of storage facilities that our grid will need going forward. Not all of them will be co-located with data centers, but the synergistic advantages of having the data center, the transmission network, the data cable and the giant battery here really, I think, just demonstrates how with good planning and vision we can turn what currently seem like threats to our electricity system into advantages. Yep.
Yes, yeah, we are. Look, we had to wait until today and to receive all of our approvals before we could commence the marketing of it. We've actually appointed CBRE to field all of the different inquiries and approaches that we've had. I think generally we're going to see two groups of data center operators here. Obviously the FANGs, so the very large data center operators, will be interested. Anyone that operates a data center in Sydney and Melbourne will be interested in starting a new availability zone up here in Queensland. But the more interesting is we've been fielding quite a lot of inquiry from operators in Southeast Asia that see this location as a secondary storage site for their data as a more secure site. Australia is blessed with having some of the best data security laws in the world. And so that's very attractive for corporates and governments in Southeast Asia and the Pacific to potentially use this as what they call a secondary storage site for their data. So I think we'll be overwhelmed with sort of interest at this location. Of course, it's going to take time to build it up to the sort of scale that it's potential, but that's the great thing about this site. It can keep expanding indefinitely into the future.
And that while you're up there, if you could just say your full name and title for the cameras.
I'm David Skaysbrook and I'm the managing partner of Quinbrook.
I'm just going to ask you about the recent power supply problems in Queensland. If we had the battery storage you're talking about up and running, would we still have had those problems?
I think you'll see not only our battery storage project, we've seen many announcements in Queensland, but it would certainly have mitigated those problems. The issue that we have, it's called an energy transition for a reason. It's going to take us time to wean off of the dependency that we have, particularly on gas, and the high power prices are a function really of the gas market at the moment. And most Most Australians can't understand why something happening in so far away in the rest of the world should make our gas prices 10 times more expensive all of a sudden. That's just the way the market works. But the gas price is actually setting the electricity price. And it's not only an issue here, it's an issue in the UK, it's an issue in the United States, it's an issue in Europe. So batteries are part of the solution of being able to harness solar, which is one of the cheapest forms of electricity on the planet. Here in Queensland, we're blessed with 330 average Sundays a year. We've got to harness that, and batteries help us store it, take it from the middle of the day when there's plenty of it, more than we need, and then be able to use it later on. And that is exactly what it will do to help stop those peaks and spikes in the pricing.
Yes. So, of course. Yeah, sure. So today we're reporting 5,726 new cases. 4,153 of those are self-reported from rat tests. That means there are currently 40,191 Queenslanders with COVID that are considered active. In addition, there are 293 new influenza cases, 2,224 active flu cases. So you can see just a few days ago I was saying there was 10 times the number of COVID cases as flu. It's now more like 20 times the number of COVID cases than flu. Tragically, 13 people lost their lives to COVID in the last 24 hours. 4 people died from influenza. In our hospitals, we have 613 patients, COVID patients in Queensland public hospitals, 16 of those in intensive care, 14 of them ventilated. Our private hospitals are also supporting the effort with 101 patients, one of those in intensive care. There are 99 people in our public hospitals with the flu. All of our hospitals are well prepared for these kinds of surges that we're going to see as consecutive waves of COVID flow through our community, and they are putting in place those surge plans that have been refined and worked on over the last 2.5 odd years. But that is having an impact, particularly on planned care, and I just urge people that if they are contacted by their hospital and told that their planned care, their less urgent planned care needs to be rescheduled, it's because our doctors and nurses are working just as hard as they can to take care of more urgent cases. I don't think it's correct to say they've suspended all elective surgery across those hospitals. This is managed at a hospital by hospital level. They assess what impact the COVID patients as well as their staff on sick leave, what impact that has on their ability to deliver first of all urgent care, and then they assess their elective surgery lists. Obviously they endeavour to only reschedule that care which is least urgent, that which is safest to reschedule, and so the most urgent cases will still receive their treatment. Look, all hospitals will have some rescheduling of procedures. That happens day to day, even without these kinds of situations. They will. At a hospital by hospital level, assess what planned procedures need to be rescheduled to address both the number of beds taken up by COVID patients as well as the number of staff who are on leave. Well, this wave has been surging during school holidays. People move around a lot in school holidays, so that is one set of risks. Going back to school creates a different set of risks. Our schools are now well practiced at how to manage those risks, how to deal with teachers on leave, how to maximise hygiene in the school environment, and minimise those risks. I know some private schools have voluntarily decided to have masks. That's the kind of decisions that schools can make on a case-by-case basis, dependent on how many students and how many teachers they have off. Look, all schools can make those decisions, but there's certainly no statewide decision in that regard. I'm just aware that there are some private schools who've made that decision based on the number of cases that they've had.
How many of the hospital services are rescheduling elective surgeries? Do you have any
As I say, it varies region by region. We have and can provide some data region by HHS and hospital by hospital, but it really does vary quite a lot. In some cases, it's just a small number of Category 3 elective procedures. In other places, they've had to reschedule a lot more. That's what our hospitals are very good at doing, very good at making those kind of local decisions based on the situation that they're facing.
Have you got any advice on whether we're going to see different peaks in different regions similar to what we saw last time?
Look, I haven't been in those briefings, but we would expect the wave to flow through just as previous waves have, to peak in the southeast and possibly other centres, and then have a delayed peak in those other regional locations. That's the epidemiologists model that out based on what they've seen on previous waves, as well as variations on the based on the variant.
Gold Coast University, I think, was like level 3 overnight. Are you aware of that, or is there any update on it?
Look, I've seen a table of all of the hospitals, Lane. I wasn't able to memorise them all for you, but we're happy to answer specific questions about each hospital. It's important that these decisions are made locally based on the situation experienced locally, and Gold Coast, as one of our biggest and best hospitals, will be very well placed to ensure that they can deliver the most urgent care as quickly as they can, and then see all of their other patients as quickly as they can too. Almost certainly, yeah. We spent so long waiting for a vaccine, and if you think about what we went through as we waited for that vaccine, it just pains me that now that we have it, people aren't getting it. It's great that the Australian government, the new Australian government, has been so proactive in making the fourth dose available. Isn't it great to see that happen without a fight, without dragging of chains? Now that it's available, I'd urge more people to get it. We particularly want the over 50s to get it. They are more vulnerable, but anyone who doesn't have their booster, well, they're just putting themselves at risk of greater disease, of a disease that will impact them worse than it would have if they'd got their booster. So please, follow all the health directions. Go and get every vaccine that you're eligible for. Carry a mask around with you and use it if you can't social distance. And all of the things we've been talking about this whole time. Keep your hands clean. Avoid contact where you can. Thanks, everyone.